What's the story behind your scar? Freaking attack rabbit got me. Mrs. Rabbit was love. Mr. Rabbit was pure evil. All of my long pants from those years had a hole in the bottom legs, where he would bite at my Achilles tendon. One day he decided to jump and bite my wrist. To this day, I have a carrot-shaped scar just above my palm. Wanna know how I got these scars? First scar. When I was a little boy, I put my hand into the rice grinder machine, not inside the cylinder but between the barrel and shaft that drives the machine. It was a small gap, only would fit a child's hand. The edge of the barrel sliced my hand. Second scar. A guy was wearing a cheap knockoff square-shaped watch. It was metal and I was sitting close to him having lunch on the floor. When I get up, my elbow brushed against his watch and there was a deep instant tear. I say it's from a knife fight. It's actually from my little sister's cat. I ran into a mirror as a small child thinking I had met a friend. Shattered my spine skydiving while celebrating being 2.5 years cancer-free. This is so sad. Hope you're doing well now. I'm so sorry to hear what happened. Congratulations on beating cancer. Blocked a guy swinging a machete at me with my left arm. The blade made it around to my ribs, not directly underneath my arm but kinda towards the back. We just gonna ignore the fact that you got in a 1v1 with Jason Voorhees. So I built a room in my basement, right? And I put the door on backwards so the hinges were on the outside. Well, I had locked myself out the room, so I had to take the door off. I couldn't get it off easily, so I just pulled as hard as I could and it fell and the corner sliced into my pointer finger. It didn't hurt. The scar makes it look like it should have hurt, but it didn't. I tripped and hit my knee in concrete while running. As a kid, right after my dad specifically told me to stop running near the pool and no diving, I dove into the shallow end head first and busted my head open. I was more panicked about getting in trouble, so while running inside I slipped on the wet concrete and skinned my knee. The look my dad gave me when I walked inside with a hole in my head and a bloody knee said it all. I did cocaine for the first time while being extremely drunk. Started playing with a dog, running around in the house from room to room, slipped on water on the floor from said dog's water bowl and went knee first into a steel door frame. 5 hours in the air and several weeks later the man who took me to the hospital and I started dating. We're still together 5.5 years later. Parents never fixed the side table and were too broke to take me to hospital. I fell off my skateboard when I was 13. I wasn't doing a trick. I wasn't rolling down a hill. I was barely standing on it. I just straight up fell off for no good reason and broke my arm the first day of summer. Appendicitis. Then a dog bit me while I was trying to get a massive Sunday paper through someone's door on my paper round. Then a brain tumor as an adult. Then I slipped on a sausage and had knees that any kid would be proud of. Wait, you slipped on a sausage? Came home from work with an upset stomach and some pains that I thought were menstrual cramps. Went to bed, slipped in and out of consciousness for 3 days. I usually had dinner on Wednesdays with my landlord. He hadn't seen me coming in or out of my apartment for school or work. Lived in apartment next to mine. He thought something was wrong because I usually told him if he'd be out of town to care for my cat. So he came into my apartment to check on me. Found me unconscious in bed, abdomen swollen to where I looked 8 months preggers. Called ambulance. Get to hospital and come to in excruciating pain. All blood tests came back fine, they couldn't figure out what was wrong. Called my mother 4 hours away, still in emergency waiting room, lack of space due to flu outbreak when mum arrived. She gets them to do all sorts of test scans and whatnot. Had emergency surgery. Turns out my appendix had ruptured and I was going into septic shock. Flat-lined on table. Had out-of-body experience, heard and saw things that only my mum and the nurse who came to talk to her knew about. Remove a bit of my intestine due to rotting from poisonous fluids. They thought surgery was successful until 1 week later when it all starts happening again. Had to reopen me to remove more poisonous fluids, turning things internally gangrenous. Fast forward to a grueling 1 month in hospital and a year of recovery. I am still alive. Put my foot in a glass when I was 3. I wanted to be Cinderella. Scar is still on my ankle. Mental illness versus me. I won. My brother and I were wrestling and he picked me up above his head and slammed me down onto a gap between two beds. I didn't feel hurt, but after I saw the blood I started crying and he was calming me down. Insert I barely touched you. First I must describe a piece of playground equipment. Imagine a large wooden pallet on a giant spring. Under it in the center. Maybe you've seen this at a playground. You jump on it or just try to stand on it or wobble it. Anyway, I hop on it and pretend to be Elvis, the king of rock and roll. I do that leg move he does, fast tippy tappies with both of his feet whole. His legs are in an almost squat pose. That dance. I did that on the wooden spring. My parents died laughing as I sung too. I attempt to jump off. The physics of a wooden spring thing isn't what I guessed. I put my feet together to jump off. I push down with my feet. The board goes down as I apply pressure. I then bring my knees and legs up as I jump. My head has not moved in elevation. My head was steady like a chicken. The spring pallet only launched me up only slightly higher than I guessed, but only straight upwards. This was not my planned trajectory. I come crashing back down as the wooden edge of the wobble thing is launching up with force as my both shins as I come flying down. Instant blood. I couldn't walk. My parents carried me. I limped on both legs for a week or two. Over 24 years ago. I still have a slight ache in one of my shins. I got myself matching hairline fractures and scars on both shins that day. All because I wanted to rock like Elvis. Jumping on my parents' bed age 3, hit my head on the corner of their headboard and cracked my head open. Had to get stitches. But apparently I didn't cry or fidget at all. Dog bumped into me. I hit my hip against the door frame and somehow it cut me. Had acne since I was 9. Many scars. I have 2 cats. So many battle scars there, thanks Bella and Mo, but mostly Bella. My friend threw a playing card at me, and the corner hit my forehead and left a small indent. I fell at my grandma's house, and a screw in the metal strip that connects her kitchen and hallway floors cut my knee pretty badly. Bled a lot and really hurt. Got my appendix out at age 7 when my appendix almost burst. 12 very painful hours in the waiting room, just to get checked to see what was wrong. I have a long scar on my right knee to low thigh from when I was about 7 years old. My friends and I were crazy about this tiny hill we had where we took our bikes to the top and rode them down however fast we could. A thing to note is, our town had an open drain system for rainwater, so we're making our way down, feeling the wind in our backs and just having the best time of our lives. I'm winning this downhill race by a lot, and as I reach the bottom, one of my neighbor's dog decides to make a run for it from their front yard and ends up right in front of me. I swerve to the right, trying not to hit that precious soul and lose balance, ending up in the 3-foot deep gutter that lined the roads. Everything seems okay at first, other than me being wet from all the water in it, but as soon as the 4-foot me gets up, trying to get out of the 3-foot gutter, I see a huge gash on my knee. It's basically as if someone took a knife and made a long slightly deep slit. Turns out some idiot had thrown and broke a glass bottle in the gutter. We rushed to the community hospital and luckily I had no stitches. I still sometimes look in the mirror to my scar and feel proud of not hitting that little doggo. Pizza burn. Pizza burn. Pizza burn. Drunk bruise. 4-wheeler crash. I've been in pizza for 9 years. 6th grade me thought I could catch a football that was flying over a fence held up by a tea stake. 40 stitches later I learned that fence played some great defense. You could even say it played some great defense. Skin cancer. Kids made fun of me for it in elementary school, so I had surgery done. It's a shape of a heart now. I had a 3rd nipple. My whole life I thought it was a scar or something, but one day my friend joked about it being another nipple. It was right below my left boob. I told my mom I thought I had a 3rd nipple, and she said she had one as well. She showed me hers that looked like a tiny mole. I showed her my 3rd nipple and she immediately said, "Yeah, let's get that removed." Doctors said there was a little bit of breast tissue and if I got pregnant I could have produced a little bit of milk. Yikes. Got my gallbladder taken out. 3 scars and a funny-ass memory. My dog bit me in the eye as a toddler because I was running around the house. It's still there 26 years later. That's an old dog. There was this baby inside me and the umbilical cord was wrapped 3x around her neck and was holding her up from coming out the vagina way. Man, we have a serious epidemic of babies finding their ways into people. Rochelle stabbed Mai in the neck with a pencil on the bus in 3rd grade. Crazy bitch thought she was John Wick. When my pitbull lost his mind and started attacking the other dogs. I was a owner of 4 pit bulls and a small disabled dog, now 3 pits and a small dog. 2 of them were fighting, let's say Dog A and Dog B, for a whole year, and their last fight Dog B might have bit Dog A in a spot that might have affected him mentally. The day after, Dog A goes ballistic and attacks the other 2 pits while my dad and Dog B are outside. The other 2 don't fight and run around the house while I'm trying to hold down Dog A by his collar. Then his collar snaps. In the struggle of me trying to grab him, he gashes my up left arm and somehow bites my finger, splitting the fingernail. I was able to put him in the bathroom till my dad came inside. The cuts weren't so serious that I had to go to the hospital. That was the last time I saw him. Also, my parents didn't take me with them when they took him to the vet because of fear of me fainting from crying. So I rescued an American Bulldog 7 years ago, and she has been just the sweetest, most mellow joy of a dog to be around. About a year and a half ago, a 5-month-old American Bulldog showed up on an adoption site in Mesa, and I decided to adopt him. For a year he was absolutely fantastic. We trained him with a professional. He was adventurous, confident, and super fun. About 4 months ago things started to change. He began to lunge at other dogs, which then escalated to certain people. The lunging then advanced to redirecting towards me when I was walking him. He nipped me a few times and left some nasty bruises. Then one day I walked past him in the living room and he just attacked me completely unprovoked. I didn't even realize he was in the room. He was literally hanging by his teeth from my chest, then he dropped and grabbed onto my wrist. Theories are that he developed a tumor or something in his brain that made him snap. We don't really know. But yeah, the scars on my wrist are just now in that itchy sorta phase, and I've got a big ol' hematoma on my chest on top of some scarring from teeth marks. Dog attacks are so painful and unbelievably scary. I was near a cash register at my old job and it closed a bit on my arm. A very tiny bit on my arm. Now I have permanently on my arm what looks like a mild scratch from a cat or something. Oh yeah, also another one when in 6th grade one jumped off something in a yard and had my tongue out and kneed my chin. Still remember standing in the mirror feeling my chunk of tongue that was kinda on but kinda not, and feeling the adrenaline coming down and the pain going up. Fun times at summer camp. Doing a stupid wheelbarrow race at my school's pep rally. Friend dropped my face first and I have a battle scar on my chin now. Used to get all my sustenance through a tube in my stomach, then it got cut off. Now I have a little button scar in my belly where it used to be. There was a fire at my job. I heroically smashed open a fire extinguisher case. And even though I used a little metal hammer, a piece of glass sliced my knuckle open. I didn't succeed in putting the fire out. I just got myself covered in blood, dirty sprinkler water, and smoke. The scar on my other knuckle is from recklessly assaulting a can of chili with an old school metal wedge can opener. I was hungry. I was on my neighbor's hammock near their fence and my leg got cut by the metal. I had scoliosis and had a titanium rod screwed into the majority of my spine to correct it. It's a pretty awesome scar and people always ask me to see it. Back when I was about 6 years old, my family lived in a house with a large hill behind it. There was a lot of dry brush back there, but enough clear ground to make it an ideal setting for games of make-believe involving mazes, labyrinth-like fortresses, or curiously well-lit sewer systems. I got to know the area so well that I scarcely needed to look where I was walking, and I'd frequently rush around without paying too much attention to my surroundings. As a result, I have absolutely no idea where my assailant came from. One afternoon, while I was using a stick to fight imaginary monsters, I felt a sharp sting on the side of my neck. I quickly slapped and squished whatever had attacked me, then went back to my quest, more irritated by the interruption than actually hurt. It wasn't until later in the evening that I gave the attack a second thought, when my parents, who had noticed the wound, scolded me for picking at what they assumed was a mosquito bite. "You need to keep your fingers off it," my mother told me. "It already looks like it's getting infected." I insisted that I hadn't touched my neck, but nobody believed me, and I continued to receive admonishments over the course of the next 2 days. During that time, a growing section of my skin started to look like it was literally rotting away, which prompted a number of home remedies to be attempted. When none of them seemed to have any effect, I was finally brought to the hospital. The nurse took one look at my neck and called for the doctor. The doctor took one look at my neck, expressed his disbelief, and called for the surgeon. The surgeon took one look at my neck, booked an operating room, and told my parents that I'd be going under the knife inside of an hour. I've since been told that the progression of the venom, an unwanted gift from a brown recluse spider, had come dangerously close to entering my bloodstream. Had there been any further delay in excising the lesion, well, it might not have ended well for me. I still have a rather large scar on my neck along with an acute case of arachnophobia, and I've learned to be much more diligent about examining those places where I might encounter a web. Unfortunately, I didn't get any spider-based superpowers, so I still feel like I got ripped off.